things. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being willing to open up and talk with me about the healthy masculine. My first question is if you could please just describe for me a situation from your past where you were confronted with an unhealthy masculine or unhealthy masculinity and how that made you feel.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to share an example of that. So my example of that would be when my dad came home after drinking. I was about 8 years old, and I remember this very vividly. I don't remember a ton of things at that age, but I guess because it was a traumatic event, I remember very clearly.
Mm.
And so he came home and just grabbed me from behind in kind of like a roughhousing way, like a wrestling kind of way, and and I threw my head back and hit his mouth right here and put his teeth through his lip.
Oh.
And he ran over to the mirror and looked at it. It was bleeding pretty bad, and he came at me and just attacked me. He
Mm.
was struck me several times, like in the head, and threw me up against the wall. Um, I remember like urinating and just was just so terrified, of course. And my mom wanted to intervene, but she would have probably gotten it much worse because he had done that to her before. And yeah, that you know, to this day, it's kind of something that still I'll have nightmares about. Um, it I still in a way kind of feel bad like I did something wrong, right? Because I think as a kid,
Yeah.
that's the first thing you think is like I'm a bad boy or a bad girl or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and you take responsibility even though I shouldn't. And it also makes me feel angry. I wish that I could be myself now and go back and protect me and protect my mom. So I think that's kind of the short story, and that's like the way it makes me feel.
Wow. Wow, that's intense. I'm so sorry you had to go through that for one. And yeah, these things, man, something like that so traumatic and then to not have an outlet or a way for you to express how you really felt all this time. It's just something that you've held in. Is that true?
Yeah, I haven't. I haven't seeked therapy as like as often as I should. I have had opportunities to share this, but I don't think it's ever found its way to the surface. Um, and I'm not sure why that is, but yeah. So I think it's safe to say I've held most of it inside and processed it in my own ways.
Yeah. Um, well, like I said, I'm sorry that you had to be faced with that, especially as a child, where it's like such a um, influential time in
Mm,
your life, and even more so, this is like so. The reason why I'm doing a lot of this because so many men have stories like this that are just tucked away because there was never a safe place to express or share or that you could feel like it was okay to talk about this or cry about it or
mhm.
have an emotion about it. So I appreciate you coming forward and sharing this.
Of
Do
course.
you i- if you could rewrite this story and make it an example of healthy masculinity or a healthy way to be a man, what would that look like for you?
Yeah, I think that over time I've seen men that I admire in the way that they are, husbands or fathers, and so I kind of think about how they would handle this with their kid.
Mm,
And maybe before I had those examples, I really didn't know how I guess I wouldn't have known how to rewrite this in a healthy way. But I've
mm,
seen examples of um, awesome men handling these types of situations, and I think that you know, my dad should have just sat me down and made it a teaching point to say, "Hey, you're a strong young man, and you can hurt people if you're not careful. And I know that you did what you did was on accident, but I'm gonna have to go to the doctor and probably get stitches. And so I just want you in the future to just promise me you'll be more careful because you can hurt somebody if you're not. And I promise that I'll be more careful and I'll try not to startle you. But
yeah.
can we agree on that? And I think that message would have stuck with me forever. Because I've
Yeah.
always been like, oh my gosh, I hurt my dad, and he's got to go to the doctor.
Sure, sure. So not only carrying trauma, but carrying guilt all
Mm,
these years that you did something wrong
yeah.
when truly it was a natural reaction to somebody grabbing you and roughhousing.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and I like that you took it from the approach of your father, also owning that, maybe even something along the lines of, hey, I've been drinking maybe a little too much, and maybe I was a little too rough with you, and I'm sorry if that made you uncomfortable.
yeah,
Something like that, him just being able to vocalize that and not even making it about the injury or what happened,
sure.
making it about his choice to treat you in that way, and or even asking you, "Are you okay with that? Do you like when we roughhouse,
Yeah,
or do you not?" Because not all boys do, not all men do, um, and
that's
some love it. So it's like, even that acknowledging you as a human and as a person. I think in this example, what's cool is that unhealthy masculine is not talking about it, not owning anything, not being accountable. And the healthy masculine example is like owning it and sharing feelings and really like bringing things to the surface, your feelings, the action, all of that.
absolutely. No, yeah, you put that very eloquently, I think.
Well, thank you, James. I really appreciate your courage, sharing, you coming forward and talking about this and helping to raise awareness about what it looks like to have healthy masculinity in our lives. So, thank you very much.
Of course, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for watching Men Rising in Minutes. You can read more on this topic in my book, Men Rising, The Healthy Masculine. Grab your copy on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and please leave a positive review if you love it. And I am wishing you a beautiful day.